Hello, everyone. Welcome to Interesting Stories. Let's begin. A soft clink of a spoon against a glass echoed through the first-class cabin of Orion Flight 809. Warm golden light bathed rows of premium leather seats. Champagne bubbled in slender flutes. In seat 1A sat Jordan Ellis, charcoal suit, crisp white shirt, not a single wrinkle. He stared silently out the window. The napkin on his tray remained untouched. The champagne in his hand, unsipped, only swirled lightly, its golden fizz, catching the light as if waiting for something unseen. Then a figure stepped into view. Matthew, the lead flight attendant, appeared with a tray of gourmet food, the scent rich with black truffle and browned butter. "Apologies, sir," Matthew said, lips curling into a thin smile. "This meal is reserved for confirmed first-class passengers. Unfortunately, you're not on the list." The words dropped into the cabin like oil in a glass of wine. It didn't shatter, but it stirred. Jordan looked up slowly, his gaze meeting Matthew's without urgency. "Jordan, I'm seated in 1A, Matthew, with a firm, unapologetic tone. "Yes, but there may have been a system error. We can still offer you the standard grilled chicken meal if you'd like." A few passengers turned to glance. One man in seat 1C muttered to his companion, "Probably not used to how things work around here." Jordan's fingers tightened slightly around the glass. He took a deep breath. No reaction, no words. Matthew, seeing no resistance, lifted the tray and turned away, leaving Jordan with an empty table and the heavy silence of first class. At the back of the plane, Leah, Jordan's assistant, sat in economy, her eyes wide with alarm. She couldn't hear the words, but she saw everything. Jordan turned his wrist, pressing the call button. No one came. The quiet clinking of cutlery continued. In first class, Jordan remained in his seat, his gaze still forward but no longer fixed on the window. He was timing it 10 minutes. That was how long he gave the situation to reach its limit. No more. Exactly 48 hours earlier, Jordan Ellis had signed a $2 billion acquisition deal. Ellis Aerospace, the company he built from scratch, had officially become the parent company of Orion Air, the very airline now denying him a meal. After signing the contract, he simply told his assistant, "No press, no spotlight, just a flight home." Leah nodded. "You deserve a break." He had once been the kid who slept under the wing of a decommissioned plane in a maintenance hangar in Minneapolis, where his mother mopped floors on night shifts. He had been a landing gear pressure checker, then a technician, then a night student. He got into MIT at age 26. He didn't need praise, but he had hoped that at some altitude, people would finally see him as a person, not just a color. In the back of the plane, Leah fumbled with her phone. A headline flashed across her screen. "Ellis Aerospace finalizes. Orion Air acquisition founder Jordan Ellis to oversee transition." She leaned forward, eyes scanning toward first class. A thought struck her like a cold slap. They don't know. They really don't know who they just denied. Jordan still hadn't touched the champagne. He stared into the fizzing bubbles, watching them rise and break, and quietly wondered how many more times do I have to stay silent for others to learn the same lesson again? The call button still blinked. No one responded. Jordan stood up. Jordan rose, not abruptly, not to startle. He buttoned his jacket calmly, pulled out his phone from the inner pocket, and began walking softly down the aisle. No one stopped him, until Matthew, the lead flight attendant, appeared from the rear galley and raised a hand in front of him just steps from the cockpit. "Matthew, sir, you're not allowed in that area." Jordan even-toned, "I need to speak with the captain." Matthew raised an eyebrow and crossed his arms. "Matthew, unless there's an emergency, I'll have to ask you to return to your seat. You're violating policy." Jordan didn't flinch. Instead, he unlocked his phone with a fingerprint scan and opened a secure internal app. A corporate acquisition interface appeared. He held it up for Matthew to see. "Jordan, I believe this qualifies as urgent." Matthew, "What is this?" Jordan finalized documents for Ellis Aerospace's acquisition of Orion Air, signed by me, and look, your name is right here on the employee roster. Matthew's expression wavered. A younger flight attendant behind him whispered, "Matt, Is that Jordan Ellis? Matthew tried to regain composure, voice tightening. Matthew, you think that makes you the owner of this plane? Jordan offered a faint smile, not smug, just tired. Jordan, no, I don't think anything. I just spent $3.2 billion to make sure it's a fact. A few passengers at the front of the cabin were starting to stir. Someone murmured, "What's going on? Who is he?" Without waiting for another word, Jordan walked forward. The cockpit door opened from the inside. The captain, a salt and pepper-haired man, recognized him instantly. "Captain Mr. Ellis." "Jordan, that's me. I need a secure line to the HR department immediately." The captain understood in a heartbeat. He nodded and opened the encrypted communications panel. Back in the galley, Matthew stood frozen. There were no more words left in him. Jordan stood inside the cockpit, holding the cabin-wide PA controller. The captain gave a small nod of confirmation. "Captain, the PA is live, sir." Jordan took a deep breath, not to gather courage, but to steady his voice. He pressed the button. The sound of his voice echoed through the entire aircraft. "Good afternoon, passengers of Orion Flight 809. This is Jordan Ellis, CEO of Ellis Aerospace. If my name sounds familiar, it may be because earlier this morning we completed our acquisition of Orion Air." A ripple of murmurs spread through the cabin. "I wasn't planning to make this public today. To be honest, I simply wanted a quiet flight home. But it seems for some skin color still matters more than title ticket or humanity." Silence. No coughs, no shuffling, just silence. As the acting executive in charge of customer experience and personnel, I am hereby terminating the entire current in-flight crew for gross misconduct and violation of ethical and equality standards. A beat. Then someone whispered, "Oh my God." Another passenger looked down, pretending to type just to avoid meeting anyone's eyes. Jordan's voice softened but gained weight. "I'm not doing this for revenge. I'm doing this because if I, a CEO, who just invested billions in this airline, can be treated this way, I can't even begin to imagine what others have endured in silence." He released the button. The cabin remained still, but this time it wasn't out of disregard. It was the stunned silence of those who had just realized they'd witnessed something and done nothing. The aircraft began its slow taxi toward the runway. First class was utterly silent. Some passengers stole glances at their phones beneath tray tables, but no one spoke. Matthew stood frozen in the aisle, his face pale. A fellow flight attendant leaned in and whispered, "Was that really the new owner?" "We're screwed," came the shaken reply. When the plane landed in New York, a team of airport personnel and security was already waiting on the tarmac. They boarded quietly, without expression. Jordan didn't look at the crew as they were escorted off the plane one by one. He simply turned to the captain and said calmly, "Thank you for not standing in the way." The captain gave a silent nod, his expression understanding. At the back of the plane, Leah, his assistant, finally exhaled. As she walked past Jordan, she whispered, "They didn't know, but now the whole world does." The next morning, social media exploded. Hashtags, "Our Jordan Ellis," and "No More Silent Cabins" surged to the top of the trending list. A passenger's shaky video of Jordan's announcement had gone viral, his voice low, clear, and firm. "If I can still be treated this way, what's happening to the people who never get the chance to speak up?" Ellis Aerospace released an official statement. "We are committed to building an aviation culture where every passenger is treated with equal respect. No exceptions. No excuses." Below the statement were thousands of comments in support. One stood out from an elderly passenger. "For the first time I saw someone demand justice, not just for himself, but for those who've never had a voice." As Jordan left the airport, the SUV rolled smoothly past the crowds. In the back seat, he quietly opened his phone. A photo had surfaced him holding a young black boy in front of the airplane door. The caption read, "This boy asked his mom on the flight, 'Why are they treating that man differently?' And the mom said, 'They're not anymore. He just made them change.'" That afternoon, Jordan Ellis sat alone in the top-floor office of Ellis Aerospace headquarters, gazing out over the Manhattan skyline, glowing in soft amber light. On his desk, a steaming espresso, his phone buzzing quietly with hundreds of messages, articles, congratulations. He ignored them all. What lingered in his mind was that small voice from this morning's video. Why are they treating that man differently? Jordan replayed the clip again, not to see himself, but to see the boy's eyes. In them, confusion, hurt, and something that almost looked like hope. He remembered the first time he stepped into an airport terminal at 19. A torn jacket, a folded resume in hand. No one stopped him, but no one looked at him either. And silence, too, was a choice. Not anymore. Not again. Leah knocked gently and entered. They're waiting for you for the CNN interview tonight. I've already declined a few other networks. Jordan nodded. Thank you, let them wait. She paused before leaving. Leah, you know what happened yesterday? It gave me real hope. Jordan smiled. Jordan, hope doesn't start when everyone agrees with you. It starts the first time someone believes you deserve to be heard. He stood and walked to the window, watching the city slowly shift from gold to gray. Not everyone gets to sit in seat 1A, but everyone deserves a meal. Everyone deserves to be called by their name. Jordan lifted his espresso. One sip strong, no sugar. Some fights aren't about the food. They're about who gets to sit at the table. Thanks for watching. If this story moved you, imagine what's coming next. Subscribe to Interesting Stories for more true moments that surprise, inspire, and stay with you long after the video ends. Until next time, keep looking for the story behind the silence.